Hey everyone, I'm Dojo. I'm a rapper, battle rapper, and spoken word artist, and welcome to DoeJoe's Corner, the show where we'll be having long form conversations about all things rap, battle rap, music, and more. Think inside the actor's studio, but for rappers. Today I want to talk about the new generation in battle rap, the younger generation. Battle rap is always seen as a young man's game, but is that really the case? I want to bring these two on the show because they are putting on for this gen and creating illustrious careers and resumes that will be looked at and studied in the future. We've also both got mega matches happening June 6th that we're going to delve into, so stick around for that when we break that down. Introducing to the show from the Wirral, he'll tell you it's only right you face the old ham at Oldham Street. He debuted in 2024 and went on to become the Academy 2025 champion at Premier Battles, along with being a quarter finalist at the Where Winning Matters tournament. It's Hamill.
Quite the introduction. I'm not sure I'm deserving of that, but I'll definitely take it. Hiya, mate. Thank you for having me on. Pleasure to
No
be here.
problem, bro. No problem, bro. More than deserving. And out the gate, the Space Invader came onto the scene around 2021 Twitter times and has since hit leagues such as URL, iBattle, Premier Battles, TBL, Midnight Madness, OSBL, and many, many more. Introducing to Dojo's Corner, it's Eunice.
What's good, y'all?
We're here.
Shoot, yeah, I don't know how else to. Yeah, what's good?
We'll just end the show there.
That's the cut.
But yeah, man. So yeah, the new gen in battle rap. I kind of want to begin with. I'm going to pierce the veil here on my side of things. As a battler, I market myself as Dojo new gen of battle rap. I'm heavy on the new gen in UK battle rap. However, I started 4 years ago, so this is an interesting thing for me. Of how do you define the new gen of battle rap? Like, where do you count it from when you start? Do you count that as the younger generation? Do you count that as, what league you fully came into your own? Because even internationally, like, there's many people that when they then hit URL, they're seen as a new person, or when they then hit other leagues like King of the Dot and vice versa. So yeah, Hamill, in your own story, what do you consider the new gen? And then Eunice, same with you.
It's interesting for me, really, because even though I am new gen and I'm certainly a younger battler across we've got a few more here in the UK now, thankfully, but I'm certainly, I think, one of the younger ones. I'm quite old school as a person, though. The music I listen to, kind of like the way I conduct myself, I think, like, so yeah, I'm definitely new gen, but for me, I look at like battlers that you'd class as old gen, but it's always difficult because a lot of them are still rapping now. Like for me, a Bobby Rex is, not necessarily new gen, but he's still rapping now and putting in great performances. But you can see Bobby Rex footage, 10 years ago, for example, and he's doing amazing things back then as well. So I think it been interesting for me being someone who was kind of playing catch up on his way in. I hadn't seen all of the old school URL. I hadn't even seen all of the old school UK. My own kind. I'd not really watched all of it at all. So and I learned that pretty quick as I was kind of coming into it after the first couple of battles. I just tried to watch as much as possible and try. I feel like I'm still playing catch up. I'm only recently kind of discovering people who real fans of the URL and, like, even the UK scene are like, this guy's a legend. Like, how have you not watched any of it? But then I'm doing the homework and I'm watching them and I'm learning more about different kind of styles of battlers from back then in comparison to now. And I think that's the most interesting part. The way I approach being in this class or generation of battle rappers, I just try and be different. Think about it, Joe. How often do you hear someone say, "Oh, I've heard this bar a million times before," or "I've heard this type of cadence, flow, pattern, scheme a million times before"? People listen to me, and the one thing they always kind of say is, this guy just sounds a little bit different. He's saying things that are a little bit, it's quite unique. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, hopefully, as a new generation of battle rappers. So that's kind of how I view it, really.
And yourself, Eunice, what do you think?
For me, I would say as far as the new era, how I would like define it, I feel like it starts from because I wanted to step outside like 2020, but COVID, so I had to find a way, online, and 2021 I had my first debut, while still, battling in the spaces and such. But I would say around that, like when COVID started, would be considered like all like new era from that point on. And I see me and him will like have a lot of similarities as far as like I haven't watched too many previous like of the older generation. Like I haven't like if I were to say some of the battles that I haven't watched, it'd kind of be crazy. Like I haven't seen like Party Yardy versus uh Murder Mook.
To be fair, I haven't, and I'm in the trenches with watching battles.
Yeah, so yeah, and I do, I do pride myself into, not saying things that other people have said before just because I know there's like tons of battle rappers out there. So I really try to do like my due diligence to say things that are refreshing and like that nobody's ever heard. And even if you have heard the concept before, it's a way that's never been used before.
Right.
So, but yeah.
What I find interesting, and I think this is more of a situation in American battle rap rather than over here, is people can be looked at as new battlers while still having a wealth of experience beforehand. So, like,
Mhm.
what's interesting around the Crucible time and final exams time, I'm looking at people like Bandit Montana, who has been battling on grind time and iBattle before Lex owned iBattle, but then
Hmm.
is in that period of time with the with final exams, he's looked
Yeah.
at in his rookie year or as a new gen battler. And it's
Hmm.
interesting because people do look at battle rappers that way. Like there was a whole debate about it of like do you start your career from when you actually come into your own at say like a URL or Premier Battles or Don't Flop, or are you straight up just a newcomer from your? Do you get your start from a semantics point of view of when you actually
Hmm.
started? So like my case, 2023, Hamill
Yeah.
2024, and you and like how do you what do you think of that debate with the whole like coming into your own from a new major league perspective?
I, in my personal opinion, I feel like just because it's not a physical, like it's not like the NBA where, you have your 4 years in high school and then, you do some years in college and then you can qualify for the NBA. And then they would consider that first year your rookie year. I don't necessarily look at it like that for battle rap. I feel like it's a couple of years. It's not just like the very first year because you may not have too many battles like within that first year that you actually, start battling. It might take you like a couple of years to really establish yourself out of that like rookie skill set, Um and I also personally feel like just because we mentioned him, Ben in Montana, with him, I don't like it's tricky with stuff like that because he's new to the general like the masses, but he's kind of like a if you know you know type of situation,
Yeah, yeah,
I kind of look at it the same way with like somebody like Vixen.
yeah.
She didn't really or Easy, the block
I
captain.
was about to say easy.
know?
That was my other example.
Yeah, he didn't really like he had eyes on him, but he was like a if you know you know type of situation. Until he hit the URL and then people were considering him new and a part of the new era and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like it's it it it's really about like how people view you within this culture.
I agree, man. I've only recently just discovered Easy the Block after. He's like
Hmm.
literally like a couple months ago. He's one of the ones I've recently discovered. I do think
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about when you start. I think because think about it, a lot of battle rappers, especially the ones you'll notice who can rap well, they've been rapping for time before they started writing battle rap. So I think like
Yeah.
or writing for rap battles. So I think like it's not necessarily when you start. I do agree. I think it's when people start to notice you a little bit more so. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's when they start seeing like an element of progression. I've certainly had that where I'm still so new. Like people
Hmm.
are almost going right, like we'll start putting you against it, and I'm like. Yeah, well, I'm still learning, you know what I mean? But I love a challenge, so of course I'm going to do it like a Slimbuck battle, for example. I'm not going to say no,
Yeah.
even though it's definitely more of a step up in a way. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's just more about when people start to notice what you're capable of and the progression and the work you're putting in. That's when it really,
Absolutely.
that's when you establish yourself, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the thing I find interesting, and that's why I bring up that debate because like I've had it in my case, just seeing my peers. So for instance, like Black T has been battling 7 years here, but then I remember when he was battling Viz, like I seen Quill and other people on the timeline talking about, oh, Black T's really come into his own or really making waves at the moment. And it was like, but he's been here. You're just seeing him now. So it is that interesting thing of like when the eyes are on you, like is that really when you're coming into your stride, or is it straight out like out the gate? Both of you have had very unique starts into battle rap, very like interesting tryout stories. Because they're very different to your average like start in battle rap. Hamill, I want you to break down how you got into battle rap with Fusion, and then Yunus. I know people know about the Twitter side of things, but they don't necessarily know about the Instagram side of things and a certain
Mhm.
battler with Instagram. So I was wondering if you could break that down. Yeah, tell
Gotcha.
us about your unique starts, guys.
Yeah, I am. For me, it was weird. Like, if someone asked me how I got into battle rap, I'd say accidentally. I definitely wasn't trying to. I was a big fan of it at the time. I'd say I was watching a lot of it. I was quite familiar with Prem at the time. And Fusion had rapped before on English leagues, and he knew Briggsy quite well. And he seen there was a card up north, and he noticed that I was watching a lot of it, and he did just put my name forward, and he then like came up to me and he was like, "Oh, by the way, we're doing a rap battle. It's a 2-on-2. One of the guys talking about yourself, Joe." He was like, "One of the guys is really good. He's having a great year right now. He's very active. I think he might have just won best newcomer of the year last year." And I was like, "I
I
don't know."
definitely didn't, but big up Fusion for saying that.
Yeah, all-time fusion. But it was one of them things where and he was like, the other guy's really funny as well, talking about, of course, Quick, which he definitely is and was in the battle. So it was a weird thing of like, I didn't really want to do it, I'll be honest, but as soon as we started kind of writing certain sections of it, and I started getting a little bit of a feel for it. I think that's the key. I think whether or not you like it or not, doing one and just kind of throwing yourself in the deep end, like a 2-on-2 is different, man. Like there's a
So
lot more.
rare to like start out as a 2-on-2 for your first.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It's
yeah.
like
And I had people telling me that non-stop going into the battle as well, which only kind of made it more like I don't feel a ton of pressure. Like I'm nothing but excited for Slim. I was nothing but excited for Pagan. I'm nothing but excited for every battle. But I am for that when people, were kind of saying that, like, oh, it's very strange. I don't know anyone that's done a 2-on-2 as the first battle. You've not even done one on your own. And I was like, no, I haven't. No, but here we are. You know what I mean? And it just kind of like I'm glad it happened that way though, because I think it when I then was able to focus just more on how I would write and not have to think about two brains, but you know what I mean, working on two different sides of it, and what should stay, what should go. It was stressful. He come from like an older type of even older than me generation of rap. He's a few years older than me, so it was a lot more nan jokes and like old don't flop and like the stuff you couldn't get away with now. So I was kind of, and I was aware of that, so I was kind of like, I don't really want to do it that way. But it ended up being a mix of both, I'd say. But he was kind of, I'll be honest, using it as a way of like, I just want you to do this. I can tell you'd be good at this. So fair play to him. I'll always say that. Fair play to Fusion. I'm glad it happened that way in the end. Obviously got to know yourself through it as well, which was quite funny as well. It's funny to look back on that battle. And it's also like it's a weird thing of, I think I've heard maybe yourself say this before, Eunice, possibly. Do tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure you'll have this kind of mindset anyway. But almost looking back at some of your old battles, even some of your recent ones, and you're looking purely for like the stuff you maybe might not have done so well or maybe didn't land as much, and you're always kind of looking to obviously do better than the last one. And to an extent, you can end up looking back at a much older battle and being like, what the fuck was I talking about? Or like, why was I, what angle did I come from there? You know what I mean? And it's like, not that necessarily all of the material was bad or that, yeah, it's just like in comparison, you wouldn't do that now or wouldn't approach it the same way now. And again, it's the progression and awareness thing, I suppose, as well. But that's been the most important thing for me, I would say. is
Hmm.
constantly looking back and thinking, what could I have done better here? And just how could I have improved? And doing the 2-on-2 first, I was meant to do another 2-on-2 in December on the All the Stro card. And that was against their Spirit and Beyond. And we had some really good material for that. Unfortunately, the battle didn't happen. But I can tell you one
Hmm.
thing from doing the 2-on-2 for the first battle, doing one again, a year later, I was a lot more prepared for it the second time round. So again, yeah, strange way in, strange foot in the door, but kind of worked out well in the end, I'd say.
That's crazy, man.
We,
It's also a sign of a good friend, like
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
And then yeah, Eunice, like obviously everyone knows about Twitter Spaces, but I'd argue they don't necessarily know the Instagram side of things. So I was just curious if you could break that down for me, and who was the Instagram, like the starter of that, because it's a surprising name when
Gotcha.
I found out.
So like I said, with 2020, I wanted to step outside, but COVID, so nobody was doing like events outside for real, for real. Or like at least my local leagues weren't doing, events outside. And at the same time, I didn't even know about my home league. Shout out to our society battle league. Like when I Googled them, I couldn't even find them. But um so I ended up discovering something called I think it was Instagram Battle League. And the person who started it was Hollow the Don, you know. He created the whole thing, and he was the winner of like each specific like tournament would get a chance to battle Hollow the Don like on Instagram Live. So I and of course they would have like some side battles and like some battles for like people who wanted to start battling. I was like, I might as well do it, And I joined it. I did a couple of battles there. I met people like Phoebo, King OG, Knox. My mind is stuck right now. I can't think of any other names. But I started from there for real, for real. And then I had my first live debut in New York, um, versus somebody named Doc Roney. And I had another battle after that in DC. It didn't like it dropped, but it was weird how they dropped it. They did it on amongst like a I won't even call it a live like a 1 hour 30-minute video,
Right.
and 30 minutes of the video was the battle. The rest of the hour is like them talking about the league owner talking about his experiences about creating his own league for an hour.
Sounds like certain league owners. Just
Yeah, so in our battles, like the second half of the second, I don't know, it's the latter half of the video, and later on he took down the video. So I'm like, all right, maybe battle rap isn't for me. And then I found when Twitter Spaces started around that time in 2021, like late 2021, um, I just joined a space, a random one with people who were freestyling for fun. And then I joined there and started freestyling too. And then shout out my manager, Doc. He discovered me through there and was like, yo, we want to throw the first ever spaces battle league. Like we want to throw the first ever spaces event and create our own league and everything. And I was like, sure. I mean, when do you want me to battle and stuff like that? And he said he wanted me to battle the same person for 3 rounds in 2 days. So I was like, I guess whatever. And I wrote the rounds. I was reading the whole time through my phone, and the rest is history. So
Fair
hell
play.
yeah.
Although it's crazy that like Hollow was kind of like the first big step forward, if you will. It was or like at least the
Yeah.
led to opportunity. That's mental.
Yeah,
it's
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 um
it's it's crazy.
I think it's a very good like pub quiz question, or like what was the is it bar exam in yeah, is it 15 minutes of fame we do bar exam, the like the quiz show.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like that would be a really good like who like because I knew about Twitter Spaces, but I didn't know about that about Hollow's like help in your career. It's such like a
Hmm.
yeah, it's a good fact, like fun fact.
Twitter
Yeah.
Spaces is so interesting to me because again, like I didn't even know about spaces until probably like 3 months, 4 months into battle rap. But when I
Mm,
did, like, when I did, it became a thing of like, I remember I watched you do one, Joe, or listened
Right.
listened to you. And it was against the guy. It was an American guy. I think he was on iBattle, and
Oh, Rossetti or Bad Luck.
I think it might have been Bad Luck, I want to
Right.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really good material though. And I thought like this would be interesting doing it this way. I've
mhm.
always been more of like when you picture battle rap, you do picture a pit of people kind of like in a low lighted room, and it's kind of like all the fundamentals of rap for me. That's what I picture it. So it's interesting when you transport that to like it's like working from home and you're like in your own house type of thing. But I
Mhm.
feel like it would be cool to do one at some point. Just recently, I seen something of Dunch where he like disguised himself as a different battle rapper from like a different state in America, and he had like
Cletus Hog Swallow.
that was it.
He did that?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, bro. It's the funniest fucking thing. Like it's so good, and shout out to Dunch because he's brilliant. But yeah, the way is so funny, like because Lex was in on it the whole time, so like no one else
Yo.
faces, and everyone you can hear everyone just dying. So I would maybe like to do thing. It's all been very serious for me. The tournaments,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one thing after another. I've not really had more like fun exhibition type, but it's all been quite serious. So part of me is looking for. I'm still excited to do the more serious stuff, but part of me is looking forward to doing things like that in the future. Seeing what both of you've done on the spaces is fucking brilliant. So I definitely want to.
I appreciate that. I feel like with spaces, um, units. Let me know if you feel the same way. Like
Yeah.
it's an interest. It's a good way to market yourself and get your practice in. So like for me, whenever I've done a spaces battle,
Mhm.
it's usually when I've got throwaways that I need to get these throwaways out there. But then
Yeah.
also I'm using that opportunity to get myself and my material out there to people that wouldn't have been to a live event. So yeah, the only spaces I've done are iBattle and TMR. The TMR one was like an England versus Africa card, so it was against an
Mhm.
African battler. Like I like that networking side of things, and then same with iBattle. I've battled a Canadian guy and I've battled an American guy, so it's like
Mhm.
different audiences, and yeah, I think that's what it's best for. But it's also best for like practice and Eunice. I find that like that yeah, I'm right in saying Twitter Spaces really helped you out before then getting into the battles you did afterwards.
Absolutely. And at first I didn't even realize how much it was helping me because not only is it helping me like sharpen my pen, but it's also helping me with like writing under shorter prep times. Like the very first space battle I did was 2 days prep. And then a couple of those space battles helped me do a live battle within 2 days prep. The first time I debuted it on my home league in Maryland, they asked if I could prep within 3 days, and I managed to do it. Not my best performance, of course, but I was still able to pull it off. You feel me? And um, realizing that I realized it like later on down the line because throughout the time, I'm just most of the time, like the first half of my Spaces career, I'm having fun. I'm just not really thinking too much on, you know, I'm kind of like I don't really care to like battle live, to be honest with you. If I do get the opportunity, I will, but I don't really expect anything from it. I'm just doing it for fun. And then towards the second half, where like I'm starting to get more and more like recognized among the like within the culture, I'm like, now this could actually end up like being something. And so yeah, it does help marketing wise. And I feel like a lot of people tend to overlook that, you know.
No, for
So
sure.
yeah.
Going back to the new gen thing as well, Joe, something that you have been putting like a big focus on for some time now. I think that in itself like is an example of the new gen thing. Back then they couldn't do there was no spaces. They literally
Then the
couldn't.
text battles. It was
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
forums and yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And where they had to like kind of adapt and enjoy doing it that way. And like it's so interesting that like now we can do things like that. And even like something I don't do nowhere nearly enough of just because I'm always doing the writing or something else. But like something I definitely want to put more of a focus on this year is like promoting my own stuff more, like clipping up the battles, see what you two do. And one thing that makes me laugh, and again another good example of the new gen difference, I seen the thing where I watched the whole battle, but Yunus versus Pass, a
Mhm.
legend, right? And like there's a SpongeBob bar in there. And even though SpongeBob has been around for a fair few years, Pass, of course, a little bit like me, as I said before, is a bit of an old head with rap and like
Mhm.
doesn't get the bar. It kind of like makes a point of not getting the bar. But then what that does is that gives you the ammunition to clip that up and kind of
Mhm.
make a point of him not getting the bar, so it works
Yeah.
on both ways. And I think like, definitely in stuff that is to come from me, but definitely stuff that I've already written and is out there, stuff that I could highlight, clip up, and do in a similar way. And I think it's perfect for again getting people excited for the next battle. I also, don't get me wrong, I like the fact that like I get messages, I get tagged in things where people are excited to see me battle, and I think it's almost because they know I'm not promoting it a bunch and they know I'm not talking a load of shit online. I think it's because they
Mhm.
know I'm actually just trying to make it really good and effective. So I
Mhm.
think to an extent people like that as well. So I don't know, I'm in two minds about it, but seeing the way you two do it, Joe definitely more the past couple of months where short, punchy content where like it's kind of like zoomed in at the right moment and the right kind of animations on it, if you will. Something the old gen couldn't do back then, but
Yeah.
we can do now. And I think again another effective way of looking at it.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I agree. Like, I think new gen or old gen, the thing that battlers need to do the most at the moment is promote
Yeah.
themselves and promote themselves properly.
Absolutely.
I think it's one of the easiest things to do, and so many people should do it and can do it. Like
Mhm.
it for me, it's just like CapCut, change the aspect ratio to TikTok, zoom it in, put some captions
Mhm.
on it. It's that easy for me.
Yep.
But to other people, it's like, and it's tricky because you don't want to be too accessible, and you want to verge that line sometimes between mysterious and accessible. But at the same time,
Mhm.
people have to see your name out there. You have to annoy people in the timeline, the algorithm, in order to like. There's people that I didn't know about me because of iBattle Spaces, and then
Mhm.
when a battle gets announced, I'm seeing battlers like Josh Carroll in Chicago be like, "Yeah, let's go Dojo," and I'm like, "I didn't know fucking Josh Carroll knew who I was." Like that's just one example. So like you never know who's watching, and promoting helps that. I find.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Eunice, in regards to that?
I absolutely agree with that. And it was something that I first realized thanks to Anderson Burris, with somebody like him. Because I witnessed him like constantly, like from the start where he wasn't getting that many views, posting his videos all the time. And over time he would read like after posting like some newer ones, he would repost the older ones and just going through that cycle of, posting his videos. And he got to a point where he has, millions of views off his social media accounts alone, you know, a bunch of subscribers on his YouTube. Um, and he's breaking barriers with just promoting himself, to the point where people tuning in, he's doing more numbers than a lot of like the active top tiers now, you know. So stuff like that is very important. And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted and don't even realize like how much that not only hurts like your own career when you don't put yourself out there, but it also like takes a little bit away from the battle rap culture because there can always be new fans because of how niche this culture is. So the more you put yourself out there to the newer generation and people that follow you that may not know about battle rap at all, the more they can like, oh, they'll share this to other people that may not know about battle rap, and it just continues to spread. Like so many people send me videos about Anderson Burris, like, yo, this guy is crazy, stay away from him. And then a few of those videos, they'll recognize me in the background. They'll be like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
you're in the video. So it's like, yeah.
I had someone that I was talking to about battle rap, and they then they DM me being like, "Have you seen this? This guy's sick." And it's Anderson battling Arsenal, and I'm like, "I've interviewed him." Like I was like, "I'm in this world," and
Mhm.
it's just like that just goes to show how accessible he is, and in general with what you were saying about with new eyes, like young audiences relate to and want to see young faces. So
Hmm.
this is what the new gen or younger generation have to do and get themselves out there. Like it's the reason why Pen Game over here is so popular because it's all young battlers promoting themselves and flooding the socials. I've got a bit of a two-part question for both of you guys. Um, so the first part of that, with regards to the new gen title, do you guys like that being attributed to you guys, or do you like being considered new gen battlers? And do you think battle rap is a young man's game? Whoever
I'll,
first. Yeah.
yeah, I'll go first. For me, it's not that I don't like it, but as I said before, because I growing up listened to so much, I didn't listen to a lot of current rap growing up back then, like what was present for back then. Even like when I was younger, I was still listening to a lot of like 80s, 90s hip hop. Like that was mainly like, I'd listen to Big L, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Wu Tang, like Prodigy. I would listen to all the old guys, not really any of the new or current guys. When I became
Hmm.
like kind of like teenager, I would say, I started listening to more current rap. But for that reason, I would always describe myself as not like a new gen style of battle rapper, just because I listen to some of the artists now, some of the newer artists, and it's it sounds completely different to the type of stuff I'm used to. It's not necessarily bad or that I don't like it, but it's just kind of like a not for me type of thing, I would say. But as certainly as a rapper, my style, the type of rap I listen to, I'm definitely more old gen, I'd say, than new gen. But at the same time, I'm very like alert as a person. I'm very up to date with what's going on. So I'll always kind of like if it works and it's the right call, I'll reference things that are current and try and keep it relevant, modern, new, fresh, all the rest of it. But yeah, the second part was sorry, you said do I like being new gen? And the second part was
Do
remind
you
me.
think battle rap is a young man's game?
No,
Hmm.
no, I couldn't actually disagree with that more. I think some of the best ones still rapping right now are some of the best ones still rapping right now. If you look at like a Tay Rock, for example, feels like that man is on a mission and he's not like exactly at the start of his career. He's not a young man by definition, but he's
Hmm.
smoking most people he's coming into contact with right now, and he's doing really well. Yeah, and he's still hitting like new levels and achieving new things. So for me, it's definitely not a young man's game. I think you know, when you're younger, I think that's the time where you kind of, as Yunus was saying before, try and establish yourself and work out what your kind of styles are and how you want to use them. I think as you kick on though, if anything, you just become over time naturally more experienced, more lethal, I think. I look at older rappers now that are still rapping, and they're just more lethal with how they approach every battle. In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah. To answer that question, the two questions. The first one, I would say I don't necessarily have a problem with being classified under the new gen because I mean, one, it's a fact, and two, considering the my peers, I feel like a lot of people within my class, like Hansel, Foots, Oppa, Capo, Verado, Dice. I can name a whole bunch of people, within my class. I'm proud to say they are my peers. And I have no problem with, repping for the new generation as long as we're like as a group, doing our part. You feel me? Um, and especially with champion decide, out of nowhere deciding to give me that leader of the new school award. I kind of feel like I have to, rep the new gen, despite the fact that I'm like factually a part of it and stuff like that. So yeah, I have no
And
issue
now
with it.
you're a leader by title, so
Yeah, so I have no issue with it personally. And the second question, I don't feel like it's a young man's game because you can lose to anybody at any age. It's a mental sport and anybody can lose on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and surprisingly, the top tiers who are like the good top tiers, of course, who are, like people like Tay Rock and, Loaded Lux, you know what I'm saying? who are Nitty, who are consistently like showing up and showing out. Like every single performance that they're having is talked about, whether it's like they're performing every single month or they're performing like maybe once or twice a year.
Mhm.
Those have the most impact as of right now. So I can't say it's a younger man's game right now with full confidence. I feel like it's anybody's game.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
one for me where with that like how you carry yourself, like you're saying with the leader and new school thing,
Hmm.
I try and like rep the new a lot to that degree because of that, wanting to put everyone on and wanting the older generation to have eyes on us, but at the same time, like they started it. So like I
Hmm.
can never fully say it, but if I'm battling an older guy, I'm gonna be like, this is our shit.
Oh
This
yeah,
is it
absolutely. Yeah,
now.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
This is
yeah.
the energy. Da, 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 da. But it's
Right.
just an interesting one for me because it was a young man's game when they started it. Like
Hmm.
you were looking at like even in our case, like when Don't Flop was in its heyday, it's all started by young people. Like when I was growing up and I was watching Battle DNA for on Vendetta. I was watching it on Ustream. I didn't
Yeah.
realize he was 21 around them times, and I'm like, what the
Hmm.
fuck? And I'm 27.
Wow.
So it's like, and that's when was already running Don't Flop at like its peak, and this is like prime time. So it's like, so that's a key example of like, you know, the young gen putting on to that level. But at
Yeah.
the same time, now like we're talking about all these people now are in their veteran status and are even better now because of all of that experience. And it
Hmm.
segues perfectly into both of you guys' battles, June 6th. Eunice, you're battling Shotty Horroh. How how do you feel about that battle? How did it come about? How do you feel about the impact and weight of that battle?
Some said I wasn't gonna show up. Ah man. It's so crazy that like when I earlier this year I had him on my hit list, but I'm gonna keep it a stack. I didn't really expect like to get a call for it
Right.
anytime this year. Like, it was just something that I felt like, would be nice to have, but it's not necessarily something that I'm expecting. And at the same time, I wanted more people to just interact with the post as well.
Yeah.
Um, and fast forward to now, with it actually being locked in and everything, and also hearing his explanation because I'm always curious as to why every opponent wants to face me at the time that they want to face me. And his reasoning being, he recognizes the path that I'm on and what he feels like my potential is and my capabilities are. He would love to be a part of that journey. And for him, it's not really about like the names. It's more so just about like he's not going to get in the ring with somebody he feels like he can clear. He wants to get in the ring with people that he feels like he can lose to, you know. So hearing that, of course, I was flattered. And um it's crazy because with me being part of the new school and he's, obviously old school, it's another one of those style clashes and new era versus old era clashes. And I feel like a lot of people, like you said earlier, were kind of underestimating how big this battle could really be. And I'm treating it as such though, like as far as like I understand what this battle is, and what this battle can do for my career. Um, so I'm excited, man. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I'm really just excited. So,
For sure. Also, because it's a rare battle. Like he
hmm.
doesn't battle that often.
Exactly.
This is most
Yeah.
active that we've seen him in a while. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's such an interesting battle, even where it's happening at in Ohio, right?
Yep. In Dayton, Ohio, on Public Influence Battle League.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it, and because it's such a out there matchup. I didn't expect that matchup, and like you said, it is an old era, new era clash, but
Hmm.
then also it's Shotty in America and Shotty in Ohio, which is a new thing, and like
Hmm.
all people that wouldn't have seen him before in that environment. Like obviously we've seen him in New Jersey, but like at
Hmm.
other places. But yeah, that all of those factors for me is why I'm excited for that battle. And
Yeah.
also on June 6th, Hamill, you're battling Slimbuck. Tell me how you're feeling about that battle, how that came
Mm.
about. It's also interesting because we've got Eunice here who's battled Slimbuck, so
Hmm.
So much is happening. There's so much correlating. But yeah, tell me about that battle.
Just, we're at the intersection right here, it seems. I am, yeah, I'm very excited. I am. Do you know what? He's the type of battler that when you start and you have like maybe five or six. I think I have 5 or 6 battles in just over a year. You're thinking about like kind of what is the next step up? Who is a talented battler that'd give me a real challenge? And like he's someone who performs his material really, really well. He's very animated, is slim, and yeah, when thinking about battling him potentially in the past, it's always been like interesting to me because I like to perform my material and I'm quite animated as well. So I think there will definitely be a, you know, difference in styles, but similarity as well. And I'm really looking forward to it. He's a battler I respect. Excited, prepared, ready, man. I think this is the next step up for me in a way. It's certainly gonna get more eyes on the scene. Me, he does draw eyes. He's got quite the fan base, as I'm sure.
Just seeing Eunice's face
You
there.
can say that again, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, I seen something the other day, and it was like a like an AI picture of me on Twitter, just like dying in the pit, and it was like a Slimbuck fan had made it, and Slimbuck was just like barking in me face, and I
Man.
thought, wow, these guys are really dedicated. But I welcome it. I personally, for me, I'm going to war on June 6th. I'll be well rested, and I'll be completely fucking up for this one. I can't lie. It's been a joy to write for. Maybe the most fun I've had. Maybe. So who knows, man? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. If that doesn't make people interested to watch
Yeah.
it, I don't know what will.
I
But yeah.
mean, you're
Yeah.
already getting death threats, so it's got to be good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna have to kill me to get me out of there. So yeah.
So with that being your biggest match to date and potentially your highest viewed battle to date, how do you feel about that? And then also Eunice, as someone who's battled Slimbuck, what advice would you have for Hamill if should he need any?
Yeah,
Copy.
without giving too much away, just purely because I don't know when this piece of content is
Right,
dropping.
right.
So without giving too much away, I didn't want to. Let's just say I didn't want to do the same thing I've been doing. In the tournament, it is you've both done tournament battles before. I'm right in saying
Yeah.
in the tournament, it's a lot more compressed. It's a lot more compact. You feel like you want to punch on the same thing to kind of hammer a point home. At the same time, you want to touch on different points, and you don't have a lot of time to introduce a point, make it, close it, transition to the next one while you're punching on. So it's hard to find the balance in that respect, and I've been used to doing that. So having a little bit more time. These are 2 minute, 2 minute 30 rounds. Having a little bit more time. I'm still looking to, not waste it and make the points and get to them. But at the same time, make a bit more of a point, punch repeatedly, just give people something a little bit different, I think, in this one. I think that's why I've enjoyed writing for it. It's been a real change of pace and breath of fresh air for me. So definitely it's weird when you do get that next step up. I always thought like I'd approach every battle the set hungry 110%, but with this one, I've definitely been more so. It felt possibly than the last one, more so prepared, more so motivated, more so. Yeah, whether it be just in a better place, whatever it might be, I'm really looking forward to June 6th. I can't lie.
Man, advice. Mute their fan base while you can. That's one. That's that, yeah, because
Yeah.
um, but on a serious note, I would say because you brought up an interesting uh thing about the way you were prepping for this battle without saying too much. I would say, go in there preparing to get punched in the face because figuratively, of course, because he's like you said, he's very animated, um and he's going to like throw a punch that you like never like seen coming. So be prepared for a couple of those actually. And of course, having fun is the most important thing in my opinion, because if you're not having fun, then it becomes a job, and then when it becomes a job, you're not as prepared as you honestly should be. Like I feel like you would be better prepared if you're having fun and you take it seriously rather than it being like a 9 to 5, because then you're just like you're kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
So and definitely trying new things. I never shy away from it, especially with this battle and with you being that young in your career. It's never too late to try things. This isn't one of those battles where it's like, okay, no, you don't try new things at all. Stick to what you know and don't experiment nothing. Nah, I wouldn't say that with this one. I would say with
Yeah.
this one, do everything you can to be the best version of yourself, you know. So if you feel like writing, doing something new will take you there, then I highly recommend you do that. So
1,000,000%. I couldn't agree more. I definitely didn't want to stray too much from what I do well. I think you said it there, like do what you
mhm,
do well. I kind of put that at the forefront, and then I don't know. I think I was quite ahead of time on this one. Actually, I
mhm,
had like put a lot of time into the writing early on, and then went back through, edited, condensed a lot. And at that point, I already had a lot where I really hadn't touched on much, and I had a lot from kind of nothing. So
mhm,
I just kept going, and then again started getting a little bit more creative, experimental, and just tried to see where I could push it, and without pushing it too much, of course. And yeah, not reinventing the wheel, just giving them something different from me, I would say. So definitely different for me. But I agree in terms of still sticking to what works. I think he's the type of battler who he knows his style and he does his style well. I think every time
mhm,
he turns up and gives a good account of what a Slimbuck battle is or should be more often than
mhm.
not anyway. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm preparing for the very best and most dangerous Slimbuck. I hope he gets animated. Yeah, I'm, I'm up for this one. For real, I'm
Nice.
excited for this one. So yeah,
I guess vice versa, Hamill, as obviously we're UK battlers. Like, what? Give us your take on the Shotty battle with Shotty battling Yunus. Like, what do you think of that battle?
yeah. When I seen it, I kind of lost my mind for a second there. I was kind of like, because you've got, just for me personally, I'm a big fan of Shotty. I love what Shotty does. I think he's a tactician, I think is the best way to describe him in battle rap. As well
Mhm,
as a complete box of frogs. Like you never quite know if he's hitting you with some crazy angle, some really well constructed scheme, some mad impression. Like he's just very, very talented. But then on the flip side, you've got someone who I've been watching for quite some time who, for some reason, on random instances, not very often, but people have
mhm,
even said you're the maybe like a UK version of this guy, and I'm definitely
mhm,
not. But for me, Eunice is someone who's coming in, doing the basics really well, but then just taking it in different directions and putting a refresh. Again, it's like it is the new gen thing of like it
mhm,
is unique. It's not like what people have said before, and I think that's the main thing he's doing really well right now, and probably in my opinion, a big part of why Shotty wanted to battle him, just because I think he sees that as well, that he's kind of dangerous in how he approaches each battle, right? So I think equally with him, you never quite know exactly what you're gonna get. I think Yunus rebuttals really well. He's
mhm,
shown that before. I think it was the Nitty one, and one of my favorite rebuttals ever. That so I think it's like so many strengths and a couple of maybe weaknesses on both sides, certainly in
mhm,
each other's eyes, and they're good at bringing both things out of each other. So I think Shotty will be at his best. Eunice looks like he's very prepared right now as he's smirking on the camera. I know Shotty will be. I know Shotty will be hungry for this battle. He would not have taken it if he didn't respect the type of opponent and the type of style that Eunice is and that Eunice brings. So for me, it's a
mhm,
really one of my favorite battles. I think this will be because it's two people I really like, two people who I've watched a lot and watch still. I've seen both of the recent battles couple of times probably. So yeah, I again when I seen it, I was like, fucking Jesus Christ, this is going to be an absolute war on toast here. So and I think
A
it.
war on toast.
I think have a bowl of it, Joseph. Have a bowl of it. I think
Have
it.
a bowl of it.
Have a bowl of it. I think it will be though, and I'm really excited to see what both chaps do, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's going to be an amazing battle.
So I want to implement an idea I heard about from Oppa and then implement an idea from myself. So from Oppa, when I interviewed him with homeschool, he was talking about checkpoints in your career. So points that you've looked back and you've gained a certain lesson from yeah, either from the battle, from the venue, or where you're at in your career. And then so yeah, battle rap checkpoints, and then I want to implement a question about a battle rap checklist. So something you want to get checked off. But yeah, firstly, what is a battle rap checkpoint in your career that you guys have had that has been like the most fruitful for you? So like for example, in my case, an interesting checkpoint for me is how much like a venue or a type of event can change this like the feel of your battle. So I battled
Mhm.
Black T on Short Circuit 9. However, the rest of the card was a tryout event, so it was all tryouts, so all new people, and that
Mhm.
completely like made me realize like there people are going to be tuned in for different reasons and will be thrown off by maybe what your battle is and that you
Yeah.
might need to be more accessible. So that's an example on my end. But yeah, what's a good example of a checkpoint in both of you guys' career?
Um, I'd say probably the Deburke battle. I would say very talented battle rapper. Does the fundamentals well. Really good angler, and I think the biggest lesson was something I should have known really. And again, this is the kind of inexperience opposed to a more experienced battler, I would say. And I think this is kind of where he got me, but um have how someone can kind of twist your words and use them against you. Deburke had an angle in I think it was the third round that was so fucking funny and so brilliantly well put together. But it wasn't true. Straight away after the battle, he was very forthcoming. He was like, "Yeah, by the way, you didn't exactly say that. I just kind of swapped it round to make it not make sense." And he told me that very honestly in a very friendly way. And
Mhm.
even though that was the case, had it the way he done it was so brilliant. I could never be mad at that. Right? It was genius, actually, the way he done it. It was fucking hilarious. It's probably
Mhm.
my favorite debate round ever, actually. And it was against me. But yeah, that was a big lesson in terms of how someone can take your words and maybe flip them to kind of mean something and make a whole section or segment of momentum from it.
Mhm.
But also why it was so fruitful is because equally it taught me how I could do the same thing to someone
Mhm.
else. And I think battlers do that where they take an element and they go with the most outlandish kind of steps forward on from that. And sometimes it's kind of like, why has he done that? But sometimes when they get it right, I think it makes for a very effective round and a very effective approach to a battle. So that was probably the most fruitful in terms of a check list, like having a big battle I would like to do. I can't say too much, but potentially there are things on the card for not too long after June 6th. So of course I have the international as well, which was off the back of winning the academy. Not quite
Mhm.
sure where to go yet, but kindly I'm being given the option to kind of pick and choose where I'd like to go and have my first international, not just Slimbuck will be my first international technically, of course, but
Mhm.
it'll be
But
the first
overseas.
overseas battle, of course. Yeah, so that'll probably be the biggest one to tick off. That for me is the most insane thing. Getting flown out to go and perform for a different crowd and a different venue, just a different style of within the culture. I think that's just been something I've always wanted to do. So I'm beyond excited to do that, man. I worked hard for it, and yeah, I'm excited to go and live up to what I can do out there as well.
And yourself, Eunice, what's a good checkpoint and checklist for you at the moment?
So I would say one checkpoint that the Nitty battle was a checkpoint. It made me realize, where my where I can truly like be at if I take this as seriously as I did with Nitty, you know. It made me realize how many people, you know, um so many people finally like felt like that was the first battle that they ever seen of me, you know. Um and that was also like another turning point within my career because a lot of people had more respect on my name and it was just one of my more monumental battles. So that was what I would say is like the biggest checkpoint of my career thus far. Um and as far as a checklist, I would say battling more overseas. Like I want a flip top battle. Um I want to be able to battle in Canada. I want to make my KOTD debut, you know. Um, I want to do some crazier things like battling in Japan and Mexico
Nice.
and Hawaii because I know they have battle scenes out there, but they're just not as known in comparison to like the US and the UK, you know.
Right. Would you want to
So
battle in the Ivory Coast?
absolutely. I just know that like their scene isn't as big as like let's say um word on the street is.
Right.
Um like if you were thinking of like battle scenes in Africa, you would like kind of focus in more on the scene in Nigeria.
Yeah, yeah,
But they do have scenes in like smaller, very smaller scenes in Ivory Coast and even a scene in like South Africa that I've seen. So
yeah.
um I definitely want to tune into those as well.
The,
Yeah.
the reason I asked that is my last interview about I interviewed Rustique from France, and he was talking
Mhm.
about Disaster versus Lunit Griot, who's Ivorian, and
Mhm.
I saw that Lunit Griot has then invited Diz over there. So he was saying that there's battle leagues out there. So Lunit Griot is another battler from Ivory Coast that I'm aware of now through that.
Mhm.
That's why I was
Wow.
yeah I was like yeah curious about that. Um, at some point, I want to interview two older gen battlers about the old
Mhm.
gen, about longevity and battle rap hunger and all this other stuff. As two new gen battlers, what's something you'd want to ask someone from the older generation?
That's a brilliant question.
Man.
Something I've thought about before, just because not too long ago I got the chance to speak to a living legend who doesn't battle too often at all anymore, and thought quite for a while about the type of questions I'd ask himself. But I think one question, surprisingly, I didn't ask him was just how he managed to stay consistent and battle so often for as long as someone like an older gen battler would or does, but manage to keep the material so up to date, so relevant, so youthful at the same time. Because I think there are older battlers who they sometimes battle or they come back and battle, or in the last couple of battles, the material was a little bit old gen, you know what I mean? And I think at that time maybe it needed something a bit more. Whereas I think there were others during the same time period who were able to, be consistent, battle often, but really keep the material fresh. Even like the performances weren't necessarily just like, there's nothing worse, I feel like, than when you're seeing the same 3 rounds from a battler again and again and again. I'd personally rather see that battler only battle maybe, twice, 3 times a year, but give us,
Mhm.
fresh, motivated, fully prepped performances, than see them battle 6 times a year, but maybe have, 3 of them battles be the same as the other 3 battles, if that makes sense. I am, yeah, that's just me personally. So I'd want to know kind of how the ones who are able to keep it fresh and stay youthful, how they kind of do that, and how they keep the fire lit, I suppose, and stay motivated, because there's a lot of new upcoming talented hungry rappers who kind of want to take it off them, take the shine off them in a way. Me being one of them, you know, like I definitely do.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like, you know, don't push Hamill too far too quickly, which I appreciate and I get and I do agree with. There's nothing worse than seeing a career killed just because you give them someone too good too early. But at the same time, I think it's okay to challenge people as well at the right time, and I definitely want to be challenged. So I'd also love to know how they were able to keep it so fresh and stay so consistent for such a long time, I think.
I like that question a lot. The question I would ask would be, what was your biggest regret? Um, I'm curious to hear like what would be the one thing that like and throughout their whole career they, if they were to go back in time and not do anymore or reverse or do differently, you know, what would be that thing? Because I feel like throughout people's careers, people love talking about the positive things, all the accolades and everything that they've had and achievements, but they don't really go back and say like, okay, I wish I didn't maybe take this battle at this time, or I wish I like promoted myself more. I wish I didn't say this bar or something like that. So I would want to hear like what's their biggest regret.
It's cool that as well because I think like it's such a sport where you not only learn from your own mistakes, you can
Mhm.
actually learn from other rappers' mistakes. I've definitely had people, you know, where I've run ideas past them. Joe, probably yourself being one of these people where they're like, me personally, pal, you know, I tried
Got me
that.
feeling old now. But yeah, no,
Like,
for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
there is an element of like, you know, maybe try and word that a different way, or maybe try and come at that from a different perspective, or maybe don't say that at all, which is also fine, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it's important to hear that from the right people at the right time. And it's good. That's a great question you could ask because you are able to then learn from someone who's been, you know, around for a while and has been
Mhm.
successful, kind of where they went wrong and how
Mhm.
you can maybe stop that from happening to you. I like that.
So, going off of that, what's something we can use or take from the older generation, and vice versa? What is something they should learn or start implicating from us?
Hmm.
That's a good question as well, man. I think again, for me, the reason I like the old generation of battle rappers is like their ability to make something out of nothing. And I think to be able to angle punch so well, even back then, when they didn't have you know, it was a lot more kind of with you work with what you've got. It felt like back then there's a lot more resource available now, it feels like anyway. And I think just the ability to be able to really hone in on a point you're making and make it unique in how it's sounding. I think that's something the old gen have always done really, really well, in my opinion. You think of like you know, a Shuffle and Marlowe when they were first coming up, or like even like an Ogmios at times. You know, Ogmios would write around that like when he'd start it, you'd have no idea where it
You
was
wouldn't
going.
know if he's choking or if that's just his style. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
have an idea of what he was going to say, right?
yeah.
And it'd go one or two ways for me. You'd either end up, you know, not really enjoying the role, or it'd be fucking fantastic, and you'd just be laughing the whole way through, even if it necessarily weren't meant to be funny. But I think, in terms of what it's hard, right? Because you sound like me specifically. I'll sound like a bit of an arsehole here because like I'm so new, if you will. Like I've not been around for very long at all in the new gen, but so
Mhm.
it's probably going to sound to an older gen battle quite cheeky, saying, "Oh, they should maybe try something like this." But I think, you know, a lot of the rapping was traditional and has been traditional, and you know, like if you listen to, for example, like a Yunus round now, like say like a round two versus Mike P, for example, quite an active round, you know, like very well performed round, really in his face, really interacting with the crowd. But the way he's rapping, it's kind, it's not like just like, you know, here's the setup, here's the next bar, here's the next bar, here's the punch, if you will. Like there's a lot more for me. A lot more of the newer gen battlers will differentiate in the cadence, the actual way they're rapping, There's just a lot more of that now. Whereas, don't get me wrong, old gen, in my opinion, some far better rappers in battle
Mhm.
rappers back then than there even might be now within the new gen. But at times very traditional, and even though the content was constantly different and cool, I think sometimes the rapping was a lot of the same. But yeah, it works on both ways, I suppose you could say. That's why that's a great question. Yeah.
Mhm. I would say one thing that the old gen should take from us would be that hunger is I would say that. I would say um no, I might say the hunger, to be honest with you. Just because they've had longer careers, of course, but that also gives them the experience and the wisdom and the IQ that they should utilize more.
Mhm.
So if you're taking battles and you're not really like you don't really care to do so, versus somebody like a newer person who doesn't necessarily would care to take that battle, but they understand what that battle does for them, or understand like not even only for them, but just the situation around it. Um, making something out of nothing, like Hamill said earlier, then that in a way can still help their career, and people wouldn't look at them like, oh, they're because what they're doing is a bigger reflection on the culture. Because if they mess up, a lot more people will be like, inclined to say, oh, the culture's dying, yada yada yada, you know.
Yeah.
So I would say that's something I feel like they should take from the newer gen, is more so like professionalism. That's what I would say. That's how I would describe that. Because they have the IQ and the wisdom and the experience and all these things, but sometimes it doesn't seem, sometimes they just kind of like don't care, and they don't recognize how much that not only hurts them, but the culture as a whole.
You
So,
feel
And
it.
yeah, in the next gen.
You
yeah.
feel it as a viewer as well, like when you're just watching it, and you can tell
Mhm.
like a top tier or a vet just like hasn't really kind of got the blinkers on or hasn't really showed up for work today. You can see it a
Mhm.
little bit, and it's like you're almost like not even as a battler maybe a little bit, but as a fan of it, you're just like a little bit disappointed because you're like you could have done so much more here. Like one of my favorites right now, someone who I think just is consistently very consistent is
Mhm.
Jay the Nightwing. I think that man
Yeah.
turns up with 3 rounds of war every single time he battles,
Mhm.
regardless of who he's battling. Whether it's someone who you wouldn't think he'd battle, whether it's like another known top tier. For me, he's one of the very best in the world right now, and he does have that wisdom, but he also does have that professionalism, in my opinion, as well. And
Mhm.
he's almost like a he's rap battling, but he's killing people with kindness as well. He's so kind mid round and he's so respectful, and it's like, but that adds to the kind of tenacity of what he's saying when he says it, and it's such a perfect blend for me. And that's an example in my eyes of someone who is older gen. You would say with Jay, I would say, and
Yeah.
definitely more towards top tier, if not fucking, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The very top of the mountain. So yeah, he's someone who for me has that blend down really, really well.
And like what's interesting is has implicated the stuff that you were saying, Eunice, that older gen people should implicate is that professionalism with your battle IQ, because there was a time where Jay the Nightwing was a bit shaky or had a
Mhm.
bit of a shaky run, and then he just locked the fuck in. So
Yeah,
like
Mhm.
I think a lot of that could be down to just put an ego aside and realizing the weight of your name, because that not only helps yourself but then helps the next generation of battlers. Like he battled NXT or Next. I never know how to say his name, but like he
Mhm.
put him on through battling him. Like and
Mhm.
even like I mean, homeschool's been around for years, but that is still he's put on homeschool from giving homeschool that level of performance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Who do you guys feel like? Because again, we're talking about like just then Jay Knight when giving people shots. It's something we all do at some point. We give someone new a shot. Like even
Mhm.
I take ego aside. It's something I did battling Hamill. Like Hamill, I didn't know about you when we battled. So like it's
Mhm.
something we all do. Who both of you guys? I'll start with Eunice first because America is a larger in general, but larger talent pool. Who do you
Mhm.
guys feel like is a newer talent in battle rap that people need to have their eyes on?
That I've battled or just anybody?
Anybody or
Anybody.
both? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm. Dang, there's a couple people I can name.
Because you've given shots like Mallory X, you've given a shot like
Yeah. So yeah, we could start with her. I feel like Mallory X deserves more, views, especially with there's a period in time where she was literally in two tournaments and winning in both tournaments, you
right.
know.
Which
So
I can only think of Loso doing that. So it's like it's rare. Like
yeah, and truth be told, like, Mallory lasted longer in the tournament, than Loso did. So I feel like um she's definitely somebody who deserves more eyes on her. I feel like somebody like I feel like somebody like Phoebo deserves more respect because I feel like he does get the views, but he deserves more. He gets more slander than everybody else. So I feel like he deserves more respect. Um, I would say P Black. He had just recently battled Ghost on the
yeah, I've heard
URL
about him
app.
as a ghost man.
Both of them, to be honest with you, P Black and Ghost. I feel like Justice. I feel like um, hmm, I don't want to keep like saying too many names because I could continue going, but I'll just give two more names. For sure, Slimbuck, and I would say Jenks. Uh,
Jenks.
yeah,
Okay.
I feel like he's been doing this thing on iBattle with all the opportunities that he's given, and he deserves more looks on him. I have to say one more. I feel like
That's a good sign, man. You're the leader of the new school, so
yeah, it's a
lead
lot of
them.
people. Um, dang, I'm trying to decide. Okay, Deontay Els. That would be the last name I say.
I've heard about them recently.
Yeah, he's also been doing his thing on iBattle. And he also is has an upcoming battle on Showtime Battle Arena that's based in Richmond. So I feel like more people should tune in with those names that I said.
Nice.
And
How
if I
much?
didn't mention you, please don't slander me. I'm
Like
sorry.
he's not our leader. Hamill, what are you saying?
Yeah, for me, kind of one of the first names that comes to mind for over here in the UK, just because you think of like really new, younger, up and coming battles, and we don't have a ton and ton of those, unfortunately, here in the UK. But the ones that we do have done really well, and I think someone who like gave a really good account of themselves in the tournament was Beyond, and even though he's young and he's still gaining the confidence creatively, material wise. So I think the issue was in that tournament, you're in a small room. You're in a small room with a camera crew. The only other people in the room are other battle rappers, a lot of other judgmental battle rappers who are
And who
kind of
don't want to react?
who don't want to react, right? Because they're just kind of trying. And fair play, it's mainly because they're just trying to listen to the material. But I think the difficulty was Beyond was writing a lot of material that was perfect for a plug event, for example, or a London event with 50, 80, 100 people in the room. That's the type of material that does a lot better in those kind of environments. And I think it's
Mhm.
something, I've been speaking to him recently. It's something he definitely has taken on board, and he's also battling on June 6th against the Abbot. And I'm really excited to see how he approaches the battle with the changes he's made. And again, what we were speaking about before with the element of progression that we all feel and see in others. I'm kind of seeing that in him a little bit now, where it feels like he's honing in on a lot more. He's trying to cut more of the fluff. He's trying to refine it a little bit more. And I think look, I don't watch a ton of stuff that Beyond does, right? I'm not an anime expert. I know nothing about anime. Beyond watches a lot of anime, for example, but there have been a couple of bars that I've heard, and I've just based on the way he's wrote it, I've thought, right, there's got to be more to that. I've Googled it, looked into it, and it turns out to be an incredible bar. Like the way he's wrote it is brilliant. And you think, like, right,
Mhm.
okay, like even though I'm not necessarily the same in terms of style, trajectory points in where we are. I just think I'd love to maybe give him the battle and battle him, just because I think it'd be a good shot for him and
Yeah.
like a cool step up for him. And yeah, I think another person just that I would like to see get more is Pagan. I think he's been putting on very well for us in the UK for the past year or so now, maybe a little bit longer than that. He's been quite consistent in the tournament. He's also battling on June 6th against Dub, someone who we seen get a big play towards the end of, not last year, the year before, Vigotti.
Yeah.
And which he done really well with. Hasn't had his favourite run in the tournament, but I know he's hungry right now. And yeah, so there are a couple of people who they're not necessarily, a battle Pagan. Dub's been around for longer than me. I wouldn't necessarily say the newer, or it would be me giving them the plate, but I think these are, people who I would like to see get more opportunities in the UK, overseas, and things like that.
For sure. For sure. Finally, I guess, because I have many, many questions, but we all yeah, I don't want to eat into your time here. I Homeschool is a good friend of mine. I said, is there anything you want to ask these guys? And Homeschool's got a question for you, Hamill, in how did you get your name? And he asked Yunus, why did you have to do that to Oppa's poor cat?
Oh,
I didn't know. And I've seen the battle, but like it was a creeper.
I definitely want to hear the that story first, Eunice, if you don't
okay.
mind.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Okay. So when I was battling Oppa for the third time on on GTX, um in the midst of writing my third, or in the midst of memorizing my third, I remember thinking of this bar on Thursday, and I found out that he had a cat named Oreo, right? And I was like, oh, and I was just playing around with an idea, like something like I don't know, I take your pet, cut him up, cut his guts. Now it's taxidermy. He got to get Oreo double stuffed. And I just thought it was funny, to put in the round real quick. I didn't really expect too much, and it broke the building. And when I first mentioned his name, the cat's name, Alpha literally looks at me like, and wait, hold on, like,
Across the line.
did I cross a line here? Like, but then I'm like, no, it's just a battle, and if it gets there, it is what it is.
Hey
I
man,
say the
tell that to
bar,
Peter.
yeah, so it breaks the room, and I'm like, damn. And I tell him I apologize immediately after the battle. I'm like, yo, I don't know if your face was serious or not, but regardless, I apologize to you and Oreo. Yeah. So
Yeah, I have a cat now, man. I got a cat this past year, so that hits close to home. Like, no, it's funny. My story is unfortunately not as funny as that, but no, it was a weird thing where I had started rapping when I was probably 14, 15. I'd started writing and rapping, and I was doing like a series of like freestyles and stuff, and like it just got to a point where like one of my closest friends was like, what would your name be? And we started spitballing all these ideas and like what would be suitable for me. And then I said something, I can't remember what it was, but it was like the most outlandish battle rap name you could possibly ever have. And he said to me like, no, don't. He was like, stop trying to be something that you're not. And it always kind of stuck with me, but I was like, okay, but I don't really want to, rapping for me, it's more of like I enjoy the art form, the imagery and stuff that comes along with it. I don't mind, like I'm fine with, but for me, that always stuck with me. Like, just don't try and be something you're not. So, Hamill is my surname. It's my last name. I had a bar as well that I ended up using in a freestyle. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of I'm searching for the help like Jessica Chastain, looking for something to fix all of this past pain. So now everything in sight gets wrecked like a crash plane. Ask Bane. I just be myself. Why else do you think me rap name and last name are the exact same? And I think like that was the kind of mindset for me, was like, I just be myself. Why else do you think that the names of this? I just wasn't trying to be something I'm not, basically. So yeah,
Mhm.
I just try and be myself. I try and enjoy it. Yeah, like a part of my kind of style, if you will, or the way I rap, it is like a big reflection of me and my life, like the good and the bad. I would say the more violent stuff, that is definitely drawn from somewhere. You know, it's not pulled
Mhm.
out of thin air. And the more like kind of like amusing, sarcastic, not see it. No, I'm very sarcastic. The impressions, people have always said you're really good with impressions and things like that. So I
Mhm.
think like I just try and take different elements of kind of who I am, and apply it to rap, I suppose. And that was the method there. But yeah.
There we
Mhm.
go. Shout out Oreo.
Big
That's
up.
probably the main takeaway. No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, thank you guys for coming on the show, man. It means a lot. It's been good to chop it up and break this down, especially as yeah, both of you guys are carrying the torch for the new gen, both in the UK and the US.
Mhm.
Where can everyone find you? And yeah, on socials, battles. Obviously, Eunice, I know you got the new clothing line as well. Yeah, yeah. Drop
Mhm.
drop the plugs.
Hamill can go first.
Yeah, yeah. IG, it's Hamill Music or a Hamill Music. Twitter is the same, a Hamill Music. You've got all of the Way Winner Matters battles that are all out now of mine currently on their YouTube channel. As well as that, I'm battling Slimbuck on June 6th in London, which the tickets are currently out for right now at Premier Battles. Help me out, Joe.
Club,
There
club.
you go. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you can find me at It's Just Eunice. Those three words. It's just Eunice. No apostrophe. With the it's just ITSJUST and then Eunice. Um, you can find me through YouTube, IG, Twitter, TikTok. Am I forgetting something? Facebook. Um, and yes, I did drop my own new clothing line. I started with the my own name, Eunice. So,
Perfect.
um, and if you're familiar with Eunice is Arabic for Jonah, and you know the story with Jonah and the whale. So, yeah, that's what the design is based off. And you can go ahead and support through it's just Eunice.shopify.com. I believe that's what the website is. Yes. And if not, if that's the wrong website and it shows up to something else, then you could easily just go to my page and it'll be one of the pin links. So
Do
yeah.
you do hoodies as well, or is it just tees at the minute?
Yes, I do hoodies and t-shirts. I have three different colors for each. I have this grayish color. Um, I have black t-shirts, I have white t-shirts, and I also have light gray hoodies, black hoodies, and a light blue hoodie. So
You
yeah.
might have to you might have to hook me up, man. I might have to cop one of the hoodies off you. I'm a big hoodie guy. I live in hoodies, so yeah,
Nice.
I might have to cop one of them off you.
There
Fire.
we go,
Fire.
man. We'd love to see it. And yeah, myself on all social medias is Dojo MC. That's DoeJoeMC. So that's, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Um, I have a Facebook, but I barely use it. I tried to get that Chef Trez money. It's just a difficult market, like Facebook. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't use Blue Sky anymore. And yeah, you can tune in to Dojo's Corner on my YouTube channel, which is also Dojo MC. Got interviews with obviously these two gentlemen here, but also Anderson Burris, Sean Cray, Oppa,
Mhm.
Homescore, and Rustique, and many, many more. And yeah, my next battle is against Gasbuff, June 6th, on the same card that Hamill was battling Slimbuck at premierbattles.club. And that has been Dojo's Corner. Salute, people.